Chelsea aren't going to do anything either. It's a point apiece. Both teams really now can't wait until the end of the season. Let's just remind you how things stand then in the Premier League. There are other games today, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But for Liverpool, they're 7 points off Spurs in 4th. Chelsea, meanwhile, remain in 11th. Both teams, of course, with a lot of work to do over the summer. Frank Leboeuf joins us as well after watching that 90 minutes.
It was interesting, the table there, Aston Villa, who've gone above Liverpool, sacked Steven Gerrard, I don't know how long into the season, because they were worried about relegation.
Yep.
They were worried about relegation, and they're above Liverpool. I think that kind of sums it up. Look, we were talking during the game, hear him, scare him, frantic stuff, lack of composure. Let's look from a Chelsea perspective, being at home. It's gone beyond embarrassing how abysmal they are in the penalty box. Quite frankly, players of their ilk, on their salaries, of their standard, continually unable to do the basics. I think I'm watching Timo Werner again. I thought Timo Werner was bad when he gets sent back to Germany because the ball was bobbling off him and he was falling over and he was skying it over the bar. They've just taken the bat and then ran with it. I mean, João Felix does some really good things up until the edge of the box. And then it sort of all falters for him. And Kai Havertz, I mean, I'm sorry, I know he pops up every now and again with an important goal, but there's just no consistency. So, you know, plus point and N'Golo Kante back in, you know, Reece James again keeping the right side going, 1 or 2 plus points in this circus that is Chelsea, and it is a circus, but it's the same old problem. And Graham Potter will be sat at home going, yeah, oh, I've seen this movie about a dozen times.
Frank, it was almost comical. They're finishing once again in the final third.
It was, and it's a mixed, well, mostly because of clumsiness, but also bad luck on the goal that Havertz scored, and he went back to his hand. But most of the time, you say, why are they doing? You know, on the first chance that Chelsea had, and you showed it with João Felix, he's on his left foot. He's not like somebody who doesn't know how to use his left foot. It takes on the player, he's on his left foot, instead of shooting, goes back to the right foot, and and Konate can get the ball back. And after you have Kovacic, I mean, yes, you are a midfield player, but I'm sure Casemiro will have scored the two goals on the 2 chances that you had. That's a real problem. I don't know, make them work in front of the goal for 6 hours per day, you know, just to find a net. I mean, it seems to be so easy. I don't know what they're doing. I don't want to talk about Liverpool because it was even worse than Chelsea. And before the game they're going to have against Arsenal, you know, they have to come back to the real world, because that was really appalling. But Chelsea, I'm concerned because of the future, because those players have long-term contracts. So you're not going to get rid of those players and substitute them for other players who are going to come, because nobody's going to come. They spend 600 million on those players that we have to believe they're going to change their frame of mind, their attitude. I think it's funny that sometimes you say, oh my God, they go back to the best. Okay, they do well. And something doesn't connect. There is no link between them. It's crazy. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere, and really, and I'm very concerned about the future of Chelsea right now.
Maybe the new coach or this coach or the interim coach or whoever the hell's going to be coach could do a little confidence builder, get one of those, get some portable goals, stretch them about the width of the football field. Need to raise the height as well.
Yeah, when Kovacic is playing, you need to raise the height.
You know, you're probably going to have to double the height and put a big gigantic net on and say, just hit that for a bit, see what it feels like.
Slowly shrink it down.
Obviously, it's just pathetic now, isn't it? And somewhere upstairs we have busybodies, sporting directors, and you know, directors of this and directors of that, and ownership sitting, you know, all probably putting their tuppence worth in about who's going to be the next manager. And behind the scenes, there's about 40 players all going, why am I not getting a game? You know what I mean? All on huge money and big contracts. It is. I mean,
do you think one of the two of them that were sitting, the two sporting directors that brought all these players in,
and sacked them?
I was sitting watching them, and I'm thinking to myself, do I think there's any part of these two guys sitting there that are thinking, are we somehow to blame? Do we have such a hand in this?
Right.
I bet you they don't. I bet you they don't.
Riddle me this. There's VAR. Kai Havertz knows it comes off his elbow, yeah? Why does he celebrate? Frank, why did he celebrate when he knew it was going to get chalked off?
I love Steve and Craig, and they're very nice people. No, I think Havertz really has to come back to real life, you know. And sometimes it's like he's disconnected. Sometimes you feel that he's not into the game and he's gone into the moon. And that's what happened when he scored the goal. Yeah, because you can even say to the ref, you know what, ref, I touched with so, you know, disallowed it, keep on working, and we go to something else. That's so obvious. You're going to see it. All the world's going to see it. So why do you celebrate, you know? That's insane. Really, I don't know. It's like sometimes I see tackles. I see in the 16-yard box. You know that you touched the players, and you say, no, I didn't touch him. Everybody's going to see it. So why you are trying to play a game where we could have done that before because we are no VAR, so we're, you know, able to lie. You cannot lie anymore. It's going to be obvious. It's going to be seen, and you're going to be caught. So don't do it. You know, stay humble, like a French guy.
Like the French guy, yes, indeed. Who was worse today, Chelsea or Liverpool?
Oh, that's easy. Liverpool. It wasn't even close. Listen, the best side was Chelsea, but we're sitting here laughing because they don't know how to put the ball in the net. But at the end of the day, that's really the only reason they didn't win the game.
A number of changes, of course, from the City game. Some forced, Van Dijk out.
I can't make my mind up whether he left Mo Salah out to make a point, because I don't think Mo Salah deserved to be left out. Now, has he been at his best? No, but if you're going to win a game, particularly away from home, who's going to score for you? And it has to be Mo Salah. So I think he might have had a dilemma here, because he was talking during the week about, you know, there's probably two players who deserve to start against Chelsea, the way the team's been playing. And I'm thinking, is he dropping Mo Salah to make a point to the rest that, you know what, I'll drop anybody, even though it might be unfair on Salah? Because that's my only thinking. Because if I'm the coach of Liverpool, I need Salah on the field to win a game. It's one thing to make a point, but it's another thing to make a point to the detriment of the team. Because I think that's what he did with Salah not playing.
It's difficult to make a point when everybody else is not playing well. You know, when Kevin De Bruyne was left out, rested, whatever, he wasn't playing as well, but he definitely looked tired. But when he was given a couple of games break and, you know, benched, and everybody else was performing well. You know, so players that were coming in were performing, players that were playing in the team were performing. At Liverpool, if you're making a point, well, you can't change everybody, but you literally could, and I include Virgil van Dijk if he was available from illness. I'm not sure what Klopp was doing, whether it was just he thinks, right, I need to give them a rest, 3 or 4 of them, and then we push to the end of the season. But then, although this was not a huge game in terms of the domestic league for both these teams, it's still it's still one of the big games in English football.
Yeah. And
both teams looking to at least muster something from the end of the season. So, you know, you leave out 3 of the back 4 were changed, 1 due to illness, but 3 of the back 4 were changed, and Cody Gakpo never played either.
Do you think there's any way he wants to win the game at home against Arsenal? You think that's what he's doing? I'm asking the question because I can't figure out why he doesn't play Salah. And Gakpo. By the way, Gakpo, nobody can tell me that Gakpo has been terrible. You know, the guy has given everything. He scored some goals. He works hard. So
why would he care more about the Arsenal game, though, than this game?
I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
The reason I'm asking the question is I can't figure it out. If he plays the first team 3 games in the trot, City, Chelsea and Arsenal, and the way they're playing is he decided that, you know what, I'm going to try and win this game, or I'm going to try and win that game. And this one, you know what, I can put a half-decent team out the way Chelsea are playing and I might get away with it. I'm only asking a question because I don't know the answer.
Right, so to look at the team selection, and it's a guessing game, I think when we look at it a little bit deeper, he was embarrassed by the performance at Man City.
Yeah.
And he said it himself, thank God they took pity on us, or it could have been a cricket score. I honestly believe my summary is that, looking at that team and us talking about it, is that he's worried about being embarrassed at home. They're at home, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
He's worried about being... Because, listen, let's be frank.
Which is my thinking.
Arsenal are playing as well as... Are as much of a threat as Man City.
Yes.
Right? Liverpool have been... Recently, a shambles in the middle of the park, Arsenal are strong there. A shambles at the back, Arsenal are strong there. And I wonder whether he's thought, right, I give these 3, 4 or 5 of them a rest. Obviously, Van Dijk didn't travel or wasn't available. Let's hope he is at the weekend. We've got some fresh legs to at least put a fight up against Arsenal. Whereas if I try and play what I perceive my strongest 11, pick a couple of injuries up or they're tired, and then we take an absolute pasting at Anfield, that's just more questions for him, isn't it, from the press about, you know, is he going to stay on and can you turn this team around? That has to be one of the reasons.
Was Real Madrid the last home game? Was that the last home game?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
So that would make sense because they got embarrassed.
He's worried about.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it twice in a row. So that's maybe your answer. Their answer is he's sacrificed this Chelsea game, and in the end he's not sacrificed too much because they've got a point more than they deserved, a point more than the way they played deserved. And would they have got a point if he'd played the whole first team anyway? We don't know. So maybe he's done the right thing.
Liverpool aren't going to finish in the top 4.
No.
Liverpool were fighting for the quadruple last year. How do you motivate these players to do anything between now and the end of the season?
Wow. Well, there's a reason why he gets $7 million a year, because he has to find a way.
But he hasn't this season. He hasn't found a way this season.
No, he has not.
And that's when there's a little carrot. Now the carrot's gone.
Well, that's assuming that the only problem is winding them up. If that was the only problem, then that would be easy for Klopp. But it's clearly not. You're talking about form. You're talking about, you know, people just not at their best individually. As a team, they're not playing well. So
what the heck
they're not playing
what
together.
What do you do over the next 2 months? Training matches.
He has to find a way of trying to.
I feel like you're a broken record, Stevie. You've been saying that.
But it's not.
Yeah,
there's not an answer. There's not. Listen. There's not a book that's got. You can't go to the library and buy a book that says, you know what, when the team that was so good all of a sudden are crap.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Number 1, make training fun. That'll do. If that doesn't work, number 2. It doesn't work like that. All of the things Klopp will be doing, he might not still be doing them, but I'll guarantee you for probably at least the first 8 months or 7 months of this season, he's been doing the exact same thing he's been doing for the last 5 years when they've been fantastic.
OK.
So why all of a sudden are they a complete and utter shambles when you're doing all the things that got you to being so good?
And that must be one of the hardest parts of being a manager, yeah?
That's why you end up getting the sack, because sometimes people don't listen to you. Is that another reason? Or players stop listening to them? There are so many things that it could be.
Right.
But to put your finger on it...
But you wouldn't put any money on them suddenly turning it around for these last 10 matches?
No chance.
How long have we been saying that?
Yeah.
We said it in the Man City game.
No.
Yep.
There's been a couple of games we've said it this year. There's a turning point.
Yep.
That's the standard. That's been set. Klopp will use that, and then they'll kick on from here.
Well, you think what they beat United? Well, after they beat United 7-0, they've lost 3 and drawn 1.
But you know, we could go round. We could go through almost the whole team, particularly the real big stars, and say poor this year, poor. And it's form, it's decision making. But I'm going to pick out one guy, and it's not Van Dijk. Fabinho last year, and probably the year before, but last year when they were going for the quadruple, if you'd have said to me, name me 3 of the best defensive, holding, readers of the game, breakers up of play in European world football, I would have put a good argument for him to be in there. We saw another case of him again tonight, making poor decision after poor decision after poor challenge, clumsy challenges, late challenges, getting to the ball late. How he got a yellow card in the second half, how he wasn't booked before that and after that again. And that kind of sums it up. He's gone from playing that position brilliantly to effectively part of the season not even been on the field. And when he has been on the field, he just he's not been able to do any of that reading of the game and breaking up the play and covering the fullbacks that he did. And it's 9 months ago. It's not 5 years ago. It's 9 to 12 months ago he was doing what he was doing, and it's not like he's 35 or 36.
I was getting ready to answer what I thought your question was going to be 2 minutes ago.
Oh.
When you asked me about top 4. I thought you were going to ask me about top 6. You actually surprised me when you asked me about top 4. Because, quite frankly, is there anybody that watches Liverpool today thinks there is the remotest possibility they're in the top 4? And actually, is there really any chance that they qualify for Europe? I would say no.
Sorry, I know you're going. I know he has a lot of money in the bank, and I'm not, in terms of his job, I'm not suggesting for a minute.
And probably literally as well.
Oh, yeah. But I wonder now whether even the Liverpool fans, the staunch, hardcore Liverpool fans, not that they're looking for his, but I wonder whether they're questioning in their mind whether he can turn this ship around.
Listen, as a Liverpool fan, I think I would expect that most people would think the way I do.
Let's hope not.
God forbid for them. But even right now, I'm thinking, OK, what happens at the start of next season is very important for him and everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is crazy to think. If we'd said this when this season started, you would have thought I was off me rocker, even though you probably do anyway. But that's kind of where I am. Never mind Europe. I'm kind of thinking, wow, he's going to have to do some things in the summer to get this team back on board. Otherwise, all that money he's got in the bank, somebody could rob it.
Frank, how much trouble are Liverpool in?
Well, they're not in trouble. They will have to find a way to come back to their best, but this season is over. I think, as Stevie said, I don't even see them finishing in the top 6. They're not hungry and they're not angry anymore. I think Klopp worked on that 5 years ago when he came to the club, and make sure that the players were starving before playing a game, that they wanted the ball, they were desperate to get the ball, they were desperate to win every challenges, which they're not anymore. So he has to find a way. So he used to cuddle the players, I would say, to be very close to the players. Does he need to threat them? Does he need to take distance? I'm not sure that's the right answer. I'm not sure that's the right way to do that. But in order to create a reaction to the players or from the players, you have to change something. Because to keep on doing what you used to do doesn't work anymore. Those players want everything. So they comfortably seated in their champion seats. But you have to make sure they're going to get out of the throne and they're going to work again if they are the players that you want to keep on working with you. Otherwise, you have to sweep the dressing room, make sure they're out, and you create something else with somebody or some others. That's the only way. But this season, they don't risk too much because they can't hop on anything for me. And fans have to accept that, like Chelsea fans have to accept that, and pray that next season is going to be a better season.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.